And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Big day yesterday, obviously, with the Patriots winning another Super Bowl. Now, this is something that I've been holding on to, and if you're just tuning in, we were talking a little earlier over the weekend. Maybe you were doing something, maybe you weren't. Maybe you're like me, pretending to clean the house, pretending to do something, when all of a sudden the governor of Virginia, you remember the governor of Virginia, he was the one that endorsed tri-term abortions, and all of a sudden a hail of firestorm came. Well, then there was a photo with him dressed up as blackface and him dressed up as a Ku Klux Klan guy. On Saturday, he held the most bizarro press conference ever, where he said that wasn't him in the picture, but he did do something, well, that most people would say is racist.
The people that do that kind of research, perhaps they should have looked at that.
And you said that the competition in San Antonio was a dance competition?
Yes.
And it was that you danced the moonwalk?
That's right.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
Inappropriate circumstances.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
So here we have the governor of Virginia, who's a doctor, who was a white guy, who admitted that he didn't dress up as the Klan, he didn't dress up in blackface, but he did dress up as Michael Jackson and darkened his skin. Ouch. Darkened his skin. Now people are out to get him, saying he's got to go. And so it was in San Antonio. It was 1984, and he dressed up as Michael Jackson, and it was a moonwalk competition, and he won. And the reporter asked him, as you just heard, can you still moonwalk, Governor?
The people that do that kind of research, perhaps they should have looked at that.
And you said that the competition in San Antonio was a dance competition?
Yes.
And it was that you danced the moonwalk?
That's right.
Are you still able to moonwalk?
Inappropriate circumstances.
My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
There we have it. It went on for 45 minutes. So the Democrats want to get rid of this guy. They've got somebody in the lieutenant governor's spot where he's an African-American, he's a Democrat, but there are sexual allegations against him. I don't know if they're sexual harassment allegations. Please help me with this. Do you love America? I love America. And the entire weekend we heard about how Virginia was bad, Virginia was horrible because of the duality of the history of Virginia. Is that really necessary? Max in Garden City with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Max.
A pleasant good morning to you. You know, it's uncanny that when people can't find something wrong with you now, they'll go back to the then. It's 30 years ago. If I was going to dress up as Michael Jackson, a way of honoring the performer, I would have to put something darker on my face, because who is going to accept a Scottish-looking Michael Jackson? You understand what I'm saying?
Or a plump Michael Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, or a succulent Michael Jackson. Listen, I just wanted to call to say that if this guy is a doctor and this guy endorsed the tri-term abortion policies, he needs to go anyway, because he has violated his Hippocratic oath. Unless, do they even take it anymore in America? I don't know. But in his promise to do harm to no one, he swears to it. Then he turns around and says, let's go and murder some babies. After all, it's convenient. Yes, he should step down, but not for reasons of impropriety in darkening his skin. For Pete's sake, people, if you're listening, thicken your skin. And remember this, if you're a liberal, you are not a patriot. You cannot be a patriot and be a liberal. Either one side or the other, you're lying to yourself.
All right, Max, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Joining us now, our great friend Lars Larson, Lars Larson Show, larslarson.com, weeknights 6 to 9 here at KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Lars, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing on this Monday morning?
You know, I'm a little off today. It's funny. I don't drink. I just indulge in like the wings and the pizza, but I'm a little off from this whole Super Bowl thing. It's a huge national pastime. Everybody's talking about it. Is the NFL back? Because we weren't really talking about social issues. We were talking about whether or not we enjoyed the game. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I'll tell you what. I thought the whole game was a little bit off. Maroon 5 got its share of grief. I thought the best thing was the national anthem because it was done in such a classy fashion. But other than that, the game was kind of boring. The final result was a bit predictable. I think we knew the Patriots were likely to win, and they have again. And the dynasty continues. But the rest of it, a lot of the commercials were boring. And I think some of that boring comes from the fact that everyone is working so hard to be politically correct these days. And so, you know, I think the best thing about Super Bowl commercials in the past was they were funny and they were a little more off. But you were just having that discussion about Ralph Northam. I ended Friday night with that subject with a friend of mine from Charlottesville, Virginia, who knows the subject well. And frankly, it stuns me that the Democrats have said it's okay if he wants to kill babies after they've been born, which is murder in every single state in America by law. But if he dressed up, and for all I know he did, if he dressed up in blackface back in medical school, that's a problem. If he dressed up as a Klansman, I agree it's a political problem. And for people who say, well, it was okay back then, I can tell you something. I graduated from high school in 1977. No one I knew wore blackface. And I wasn't from a big city high school. I was from Tillamook, Oregon. I was from a rural redneck kind of school. And nobody I knew when I was a kid, 10 years before I graduated from high school, nobody I knew as a kid would have dressed up in blackface for Halloween. And we give a certain amount of additional latitude to little kids to dress up as different things. I didn't know anybody who wore blackface when I was a little kid, let alone in high school, let alone 7 years after I graduated from high school when Ralph Northam was in medical school. And you're putting on blackface, but the biggest concern they have is the costume he wore offensive or not, and that's why he should resign, not because he went on a radio station and advocated killing babies who had already been born. We have a weird sense of priorities if that's the case.
Indeed. Now, Lars, obviously you're always working. Did you watch the press conference live? I did, and it was twofold. It was fascinating to me. On one hand, he gets condemned, as you just pointed out, for wearing the blackface, doing the moonwalk, and everything else, despite what he said about abortion. And then you had every Sunday show, that was the lead, was the Virginia governor.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think there's a second agenda which you should be aware of. The governor's lieutenant governor is apparently an up-and-coming young Democrat. He happens to be a black Democrat, and he would become the governor. And there's almost 3 years left in Northam's term, which means that this young man that I think the Democrat Party in Virginia has high hopes for would end up becoming the incumbent governor of Virginia for 3 years, and then he would run as an incumbent for re-election. Northam had no aspirations to run for higher office, and the only two offices you really run for these days after you've been a governor is U.S. Senate or president, and he had no aspirations to do that. So the Democrat Party, I think, is thinking, this guy's old baggage. He's of no use to us in the future. He's embarrassed us because of the revelation of this picture. I am curious whether you've found out where the picture came from. And I only ask that because if you say, what difference does it make where the picture came from? Here's the difference it makes. If the Democrats have decided this guy is an inconvenience, let's toss him out of the lifeboat. And then his lieutenant governor becomes governor, runs as an incumbent, and the party gains a lot from that. Or was this a conservative group that outed him for these these pictures from his medical school yearbook. And it'd be interesting to find out which is the case, because it makes a big difference about the motivation of the people involved. Would I excuse him for having done it? I think it was incredibly stupid if he did it. And then to come out and admit last week, as he did, that's me in the picture, and then later on say, no, actually it's not me in the picture. And then say, but I did darken my skin to play Michael Jackson in a dress-up party of some kind. And then if you really want to get into the question of whether or not pretending to be someone else is okay, well, then what are you not allowed to dress up as? Is somebody who's black, like the very well-liked Eddie Murphy, is he allowed to dress up as a white person? He's done that a few times on national television. And you say, but that's for television. Well, what are you allowed to pretend to be for, say, a Halloween party or a costume party? They aren't that popular anymore, but if you have a costume party, are you allowed to dress up as somebody who is not of your race, not of your sexuality, not of your cultural background? You're going to put a lot of limitations on because that means you what can you dress up as anymore?
Well, Lester Holt dressed up as that singer who was on Britain's Got Talent, and he got a pass. Lars, let's talk a little bit about the State of the Union. We're going to have our State of the Union watch party, as always. What are you going to be watching for, sir?
I'm going to be watching for a strong defense of the idea that America needs that wall. And I think I'm pretty well assured that I'm going to get that. I'd like to see some pushback from the president because on the fact that the Democrats constantly say we're willing to negotiate, and now they have a great opportunity to negotiate, and they're refusing to do any of it, anything of the kind, that they hate everything he's attached to. Now, I know there's a certain decorum to the State of the Union, that you may not be able to be as vigorous at that as you are in a campaign speech, but the usual rules of decorum don't necessarily apply to this president, and I think that's actually a good thing. So I'm going to be watching for that. It'll be interesting to see where the president takes us, because he's an unconventional president on national defense, on war, the wars that America has found itself in, the subject of safeguarding our national borders, and the Democrats' absolute refusal to do that. It'd be nice to hear him address the subject of debt, because you know that we're going to run a $900 billion deficit. And when people say, well, you'd be criticizing that if it was a Democrat like Obama, and I say, yeah, I do. I don't think we should be spending this much money. The only problem is, what do you want to cut? 2/3 of the federal budget is entitlements, and many of those go to people who feel that they are entitled to them. And so what would you like to cut when 2/3 of the money is going to things that really hit people where they live?
Lars Larson joining us, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Lars, anything else you will particularly be looking out for this week?
Just to see what's going to be the fallout in Virginia. I have a feeling that the pressure on Northam is going to be that he's going to resign. And then as far as that goes, I would love to see the Democrats, since we are coming up on the deadline fairly quickly, for 11 days from now, the federal government shuts down again. And I made the prediction that I think, having shut the government down once, that I didn't think the president would do it a second time, because there's even less enthusiasm for it the second time than the first time. But I'm prepared to be wrong about that, too. And when people question shutting down the government, they should remember that the people who founded this country and wrote the documents, including the Constitution, said we're not going to give the president very many powers at all. But one power he does have is the power to say, I'm not signing that piece of legislation. And unless the people's representatives have the votes to overwhelm that, then his veto is one of the few powers he has. And now you're hearing people say, well, he shouldn't have that power either. Well, then what do you want the president to be, and what do you want him to do? He's the commander-in-chief, but he can't declare wars. He is seen as the titular head of the country, but he doesn't have the ability to spend one dime or make one law without the people's representatives signing off. And if you take away his ability to veto a spending bill, then what does the president do? What is his job?
Lars Larson, we always appreciate you This goes without saying. The hardest working guy I know in radio.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be on with you, and you know that you work very, very hard, too. I hope you're feeling better today after yesterday's game.
It was a tough one, but we pulled it out. Thank you, sir.
Take care now.
All right, our great friend Lars Larson. Let's go to Pro-Life with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pro-Life. Pro-Life?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, what I want to say is, I didn't go to the Super Bowl yesterday because we were out on the streets holding pro-life signs, and every Sunday at 12:30 after church out on Fairview and Eagle Road, we hold pro-life signs, so if somebody wants to do that. Now, I want to make a comment about both parties in the life issue. The Republicans say they're pro-life, but they're not very actively pro-life. And the Democrats, there's only one member of Congress, House and Senate, Dan Lipinski of Illinois, that holds himself out as being a pro-life activist or anything doing with pro-life. And that's pretty sad. And in the National Convention in 2012, the Democrats said that we're not going to have any God talk, and we're not going to have any talk about being pro-life. That party has declared itself to be anti-God and pro-baby murder. And of course, Governor Northam, the worst thing about him is that he's definitely for murdering babies right up to even maybe after they're born. I mean, it was ridiculous what he said. But anyway, the local media, the national media, everybody, we need to show that that's what the Democrats really are. And so if you're that kind of a person, then you need to get in the Democrat Party. But if you're not, then you need to get totally out of the Democrat Party. And in Idaho, we don't exploit the life issue, the moral issues, the God issue against the Democrats here. And I think that we could make some headway into having some of them come to our side. So that's my comment.
You're reaching out to the libs.
Yeah, the libs, if you have any kind of conscience about the life issue, God, sexual morals, you need to get away from the Democrats. I mean, you can stay in there and have them throw you out because you're trying to get them to repent. That's not a bad idea. But anyway, we need to really go to war on the moral issues because that is the defining issues of everything. I mean, if you don't get the life issue right, you don't get anything right. And that's been shown,
Fair enough, Pro-Life. God bless, and thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio.
I'm going to come to your party.
You're coming, all right, at Dave & Buster's, the State of the Union party.
Yes. Yep.
There ain't no
all
party
right.
like a pro-life party.
Right. God bless you.
God bless you. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580. Coming up next, there were a lot of Super Bowl ads. This is one that was censored by CBS. You'll hear it here with me, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So there was one Super Bowl ad that was rejected by Nine Line apparel-based company. They've grown it to a $25 million business. And the video, well, the audio does the video a little justice, and it's not about anything negative. In fact, it's about supporting America. We'll get to that in a minute. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:28. Let's get you to work safely and on time, 107.5 FM.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
And I want to thank Pro-Life for reaching out to the devious little libs to change their ways and join the right side. More on that in a minute. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin. We are just a day away from the State of the Union address. In an interview before the Super Bowl, President Trump again promised another government shutdown on February 15th or declaring a national emergency.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So there was one Super Bowl ad that was rejected by Nine Line apparel-based company. They've grown it to a $25 million business. And the video, well, the audio does the video a little justice, and it's not about anything negative. In fact, it's about supporting America. We'll get to that in a minute. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:28. Let's get you to work safely and on time, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
And I want to thank Pro-Life for reaching out to the devious little libs to change their ways and join the right side. More on that in a minute. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Let's go to Dave in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Hello, Dave. Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
Not bad. That cold seems to be giving you a tough time there, little buddy.
Well, thank you so much for giving it to me. You know, it's been a pleasure dealing with it for the last 2.5 weeks.
Never say that we don't give anything away on this radio station. We give away colds.
But then I have to say, you do have some good movies at your place.
Fair enough.
You know, just a couple of comments this morning. You got to tell me how come it's okay for Michael Jackson to turn his skin white, which we all know he did, and how it's wrong for a governor of Virginia to put blackface on to imitate Michael Jackson 30 years ago during a dance competition. Now, I'll tell you, from my perspective, this is ludicrous that they should be calling for him to resign and dressing up because he was dressing up in blackface. But not one word was mentioned on the fake news media about the abortion law that Virginia tried to pass that gave the mother the right to kill babies after they were born. This is a world turned upside down, and the leftists are going to such extremes. I'm just wondering when we're going to see some pushback. And I don't see anybody pushing back yet. You do on this station, but I mean nationally, we don't see this happening. I only hope this guy does resign, as we don't need idiots like him heading up a government of any state.
You're going to love this one. The libs in Virginia are really going to flip out. A Stanford fellow hints at possible Justin Fairfax sexual assault. He's the lieutenant governor that they want to replace Northam with.
Does it tell you something about the people we've been electing? I mean, does it tell you something about them?
Well, I didn't vote for him.
We don't do any investigation into these people. Nobody looks beyond the facial expressions and all the baloney that they're perpetrating.
Well, Ed Gillespie, the former chairman of the Republican Party, who ran and lost a tight race to Northam, his op research team should be fired. They couldn't find this out on this guy?
I know. Well, anyway, he'll be gone soon. I'm sure they're going to get rid of him. I do think the Zoo Boise name a cockroach is a great idea, and I'm going to personally pay to name a cockroach after Liberal Steve, since I think it would be appropriate for someone with his radical leftist ideas.
Well, it's $10. So it's not cheap.
I'll pay the $10 for the cockroach as long as they'll name it Liberal Steve.
I see.
Now, if they don't, that's another story.
Your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
You want me to tell you the truth? I didn't even watch it. You know why?
I really don't want you to tell me the truth. This is for entertainment purposes only.
I didn't care. Look, Patriots have a wonderful team. They can't be beat. We found that out 6 years in a row. So why should I watch it? I just know who's going to win. Doesn't matter.
That's what we like to hear. Simple. Courage of your convictions. Yes.
One more thing on the State of the Union.
One more thing, yes. Are you coming?
I am going to be there. No question about it.
Now, we've got a lot of people. We've got you, Dave Petzo, maybe Terry from State College, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I mean, we got all the big stars that are going to be there.
This is going to be fun and games. I can't wait. Well, anyway, I'll be there. I'm just hoping the president says he's going to call a national emergency on the 15th after they can't come up with a solution to this problem.
Well, we appreciate you.
Have a wonderful day, my friend, and thank you again for your show and all you do.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's try Dave in Boise. Dave in Boise, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, sir. Hey, I wanted to earlier you were talking about the liberals, but the Democrats, and I just got to thinking that what do they stand for? You know, they're standing for a much weaker America, and you know, especially if you're an unborn, they don't want to make the border safe. They want to take away your guns so you can protect yourself, but yet they trash the cops so that they don't want to help you out at all. They trash the military, They try to destroy, absolutely destroy anybody that is in opposition to them. They're anti-God, and then they support Antifa. Really, the Democratic Party, in my view, is a pretty dangerous operation. And I don't understand how anybody can be a Democrat and support that kind of a platform if they were to look at the whole picture instead of, trying to argue piece by piece by piece, the wall is immoral. Well, yeah, Nancy is, but so is everything else that I just listed. So, it's kind of an amazing thing to see how this country is ended up being divided. I've lived through the 50s and 60s and 70s and all the wild things that have gone on, but I've never seen anything so blatantly, anti-America, So, anyway,
well, something, Dave, let me just say this here on KIDO Talk Radio. They hate us because they ain't us.
Mm-hmm. Well, but yet they can't be us unless they start having a moral background.
Here's the deal with the libs. They think that America is a flawed country, that is the subject of America's success is not based on initiative, ingenuity, patriotism. It's all about stealing from other people. And America, we should give it all back because we're not worthy of it. That's what the libs are all about.
And yet they're stealing America from us, aren't they?
Exactly. When's the last time a lib said anything good about America?
Yeah, that's just, I wish you quit saying lib and just say Democrat Party.
It's more entertaining to say lib, but okay, the Democrats.
Yeah, that puts it more personal to a lot of people that put the D on the voting machine, So, anyway. Thanks for all that you do, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget, Dave and Buster's will be there tomorrow. We've got RSVPs from all the big stars, Dave Petzo. We've got Tea Party Bob, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania. It's going to be bigger than the Super Bowl. Well, no, it isn't, but this program is for entertainment purposes only. One Super Bowl ad got rejected. Let's take a listen to it. And let me hear from you on whether or not you agree.
Don't ask if your loyalty is crazy. Ask if your loyalty is crazy enough. When they question you running towards danger for those who are unable or unwilling. When they laugh at the thought of you willingly sacrificing your life for someone you may never know. Stay that way. Some people think you're crazy being loyal, defending the Constitution, standing for the flag. Then I guess I'm crazy.
Then I guess I'm crazy.
Then I guess I'm crazy.
And for those who kneel, they fail to understand that they can kneel and that they can protest, that they can despise what I stand for, even hate the truth that I speak. But they can only do that because I am crazy enough.
And there we have it from the company 9 Line that came up with this ad. I love it. CBS decided not to air it. It didn't fit into their own liberal narrative. By the way, we also have people going after the Patriots because they say to like the Patriots, it's to like Donald Trump. If you like the Patriots, then you're with the alt-right and the white supremacists.
I am honored to say for the 6th time, we are all patriots. And once again, the Patriots are world champions.
And there we have it. The Patriots are world champions. By the way, whether you're a Rams fan or not, it just wouldn't have been the same if Stan Kroenke made the case we're all Rams. When I think of a ram, I think of a goat. We got a lot of goats here in Idaho. Just a thought. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So the end of the year is over. The new year's begun. The Super Bowl officially ends. The fun and frivolity until college football comes back. And now it's time to get serious. The president talking about the national emergency. And really it depends on what is your definition of a national emergency. Is a national emergency when you let people come into this country that pass the drugs, when you let people come into this country that use people for sexual slaves, indentured servitude, things that have been outlawed in this country for years? Do you consider it a national emergency when you have emergency rooms, schools being overrun because you have so many people that they have to serve, mandated by the federal government, and people can't do their jobs? Is it a national emergency when you have people in the prisons that are so violent, so resentful, so hateful, so dangerous, and yet we're paying for them to be here? Do you consider it a national emergency when you have people that are in this country illegally voting, taking up benefits, and the rest of us have to pay for them? Right? That's really what a national emergency is. If that is not a national emergency, I don't know what is. And then you have people, Republicans, saying the president should not declare a national emergency. Now, remember, the Republicans, Paul Ryan and the crew, they're used to taking it in the shorts. They're used to being kicked and saying, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" They're Kevin Bacon in Animal House. And Donald Trump, whether he's unorthodox, whether he's crude, whatever you want to say about him, he fights back. I expect this State of the Union speech to be one of the most memorable of all time. I don't know if he reaches an olive branch to Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if he does that. I don't know if he sits back and just says, you either build the wall or I'm going to do it regardless, and you're not the boss of me. I think that's what makes it so special. And by the way, a few blogs to remind you about it, KIDOTalkRadio.com. 5 reasons why you should join us at the State of the Union party, Dave and Buster's. The phone number there, 208-901-3800. That's 208-901-3800. A quick blog to look at, and a couple of other things when we're talking about hemp and everything else. But really, if no one is going to back the plan, if there's a crisis at the border, why don't you do that? Well, then the libs are going to do it. The libs are going to do it anyway, right? More on that in a minute. Plus, the hemp company is suing ISP and Ada County for law enforcement doing their jobs. We'll talk about it next. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling right along, let's go to Hank in Boise on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Good morning. What a difference 100 years makes. 1916, Ponce Villa crosses the border, invades Columbus, New Mexico, shoots up the town, kills Americans, takes some captive, and then goes back into Mexico. And a Democratic icon, Woodrow Wilson, sends John J. Pershing down to pursue the Mexicans down into Mexico itself. Well, nowadays, the drug cartels cross their border, kill American citizens, sometimes take some people captive, and we don't even do anything about it, and they do this on a regular basis. So what a contrast in 100 years here.
Well, if you would say that you could chop somebody's head off, the media would cover it up, and there are parts of the great state of Arizona that you can't go to because the signs posted the government can't keep you safe, I would say that's a national emergency. Hank, what would you say?
I'd say it's a national emergency. I mean, like I said, 100 years ago, that would invite an invasion by us into Mexico if that was going, and that was going on our border 100 years ago. And it's the same Democrat. And what a contrast between the Democratic Party in 1916 and the Democratic Party in 2018 and 2019. I mean, that's wild in itself too.
Well, the ridiculous idea they're going to tax people 90% of your income. Really?
Yeah, but Wilson was the first president to implement after the passage of the 16th Amendment. He was the first president to implement the income tax after the passage of the 16th Amendment. And that time, the top rate initially was no more than between, I think, 2 or 10%.
Indeed. All right, Hank, thank you for the call.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:52. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Gebert.
And I'm Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's take a break from the national politics. You've got the company now threatening to sue ISP and Ada County because they want their hemp back.
To the left of us, it's legal. And to the right of us, it's also legal. And that's causing some confusion for some folks who are now passing through Idaho with hemp.
As far as the state police are concerned, we don't worry about the difference between hemp or marijuana. What we're looking for is the presence of THC, and anything with THC in it is currently illegal in Idaho.
Last year, President Trump signed a federal farm bill which legalized hemp as an agricultural product, taking it off the controlled substance list as long as it has a THC level of 0.3% or less. Here's the thing. Idaho law hasn't made that change.
Under Idaho law, hemp with any THC or any product with any THC is classified as a controlled substance and illegal to possess or to transport.
The issue came back in the spotlight earlier this week after Idaho State Police say they made their largest drug bust in known agency history. But the truck driver says he was carrying hemp.
Federal law preempts state law in this regard, and if it is a legitimate hemp product grown in a state where it's legally grown, it is allowed to be transported through Idaho to another state.
Jonathan Miller is the general counsel for the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. He says because of the Interstate Commerce Act, Idaho is in the wrong.
In this situation, the law states very directly that no state shall prohibit the transportation or shipment of hemp or hemp products through their state.
Former Idaho Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor David Leroy disagrees.
County by county enforcement of our criminal laws, and the fact that our criminal laws in Idaho remain on our books does not allow a trucker or anybody else to break criminal law in Idaho, despite what federal law might say.
Leroy says under the Constitution, when federal and state laws conflict, federal law generally takes control, but not in this case.
As a matter of criminal law, Idaho can still enforce its prohibition against hemp. So at this point, Idaho is entitled to enforce its law in Idaho as to making hemp and transportation of hemp a crime.
There you have it, our friend David Leroy. Nice to see him on the news and hear him on the news on Channel 7. I go back to this. The hemp people need to go to hold of themselves. Brad Little, the governor, Governor Brad Little, the Idaho State Police, and others of like-minded drug freeness have decided no hemp into the state yet. That might change if there's a bill before the legislature. However, right now, no hemp, no marijuana, drug-free Idaho. That's the way it is. This is not Oregon. This is not Colorado. This is not the state of Washington. This is a state that has decided to look things and put things in perspective. And with all due respect to the trucker, to the hemp company, you should have done your research before you blatantly came in and invaded our state, transporting illegal hemp into the state of Idaho. You've got to, when someone pulls you over, when you break the law, what's the first thing the law enforcement folks say to you? Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Therefore, the trucking company has no right to sue the state of Idaho. Who does the trucking company think they are that they're going to dictate terms and have hemp haulers running amok in the gem state? Thank you, ISP. Thank you, Governor Little, for keeping us drug-free. Let's go to Tess in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tess.
Hi, I would say I'm stumped as to what to say, but I'm maybe I'm a little stumped. I kind of had the thought that probably was hemp that they were hauling, and I really support hemp because you're going to have to go and arrest the hops growers in Parma because it's a direct relative to hemp, and hemp is a product that's in all of the stores. Winco, Albertsons, all of their products are there. And I wish that they would really get a good looky look at what hemp really is. It's not the horrific marijuana plant. Matter of fact, I know you can't even grow hemp around marijuana because it damages marijuana.
Well, the bottom line is it's illegal, and I think you should start calling in and telling us where it is because we'll shut them down personally.
Well, it grows naturally all over Idaho. Hemp is
not when I get my weed eater out. Not when I get my weed eater out.
Well, it is in a lot of areas, especially up in the mountainous areas. It's just something that grows naturally, but it's not the THC issue. So, yeah.
So you say.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you.
I appreciate
still
you,
appreciate your faith.
dear.
Okay,
all right, Tess. You take care. Bye-bye. Tess saying we've got to go everywhere and grab the hemp. All right, let's have the hemp posse. Kevin Miller in the morning. So blessed and so thankful you've joined us. Ray and I, great job as always. Keep it here. We're not going anywhere. Glenn Beck is next. God bless everyone. Good morning.